Alright, let's see. We left off here. And what I wanted to do was get our low poly chair, which is super low poly. Actually, I'm going to keep that. And exchange it for our high poly chair, which I'm going to do a number on. Add some serious polygons here. And so what I want to do, let's go ahead and collapse that and make a commitment. Do this one. I don't need, I'm going to keep the turbo smooth on this one. I like just enough of it. Actually, I'll tell you what, I'm going to axe it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add some polygons to my low poly object. But I'll do it intentionally instead of just throwing a turbo smooth on there. So let's go ahead and hit subdivide there. Always check to make sure you have the right objects or sub-objects selected. We'll hit plus so we keep it active. Select that one, hit plus. Awesome. And I know that we're going to need to do the UVs, so let's go ahead and just bang out the UVs. Notice that I left all the chamfers that we did in class. I'm going to leave them there because it may just allow for better mesh painting, give me some more options, some other modeling. It's not a high poly chair at all still, so it gives us some wiggle room, and that's great. Go ahead and do the UVs real quick. This should be a little cleaner. Sorry, 85, not 180. And we're going to break some things apart. Namely, I'm going to break the legs off. Keep them separate. I know for a fact that I want to have them rotating in a certain angle, because when I get to substance, I want them all lined up together so I don't have to mask each new layer off and create a whole bunch of hellacious, painful things. It's a lot more work than it needs to be. And since I want to paint some destruction inside my legs, that will be the easiest, cleanest way to do it. I'm just making sure I get all those geometric shapes. I'm going to hit break. I'm going to go ahead and do a quick stack. And I know for a fact that's not what I'm going to want. I'm going to want there's a couple of thoughts in my head. One is that we have them go back and forth so we have them straight up and down. Or the other one is just weld them into single islands. Just stitching away. Oopsie. Got something hiding over there. Aha. Forgot you. And you. Cool. Break. Awesome. Now let's grab all these. Since I broke them off and they're different sizes, let's just restack them. Get them all in the same size. And we'll just keep rolling with that. Stitch selected. If you really want to be specific about what's going on in terms of their location, like you want the front of the legs to be in a very specific spot on your UVs, just take the time to make that happen. So if I wanted, say, for instance, these two to be the center of their legs, so I know where they would be to paint them. Choosing that to select it. Turn that off. Now what I will do is I'm going to edge mode and I can stitch as if they're the center and then choose which, one side or the other to be the back. But then that allows me to know for sure where these pieces are. Right. So what I'm going to do here, go to polygon. Oh, it wasn't polygon. Go here and I will group them. Polygon. Group them. That way now I can just stack them and they'll stay oriented like I have them. If I want to go back and flip them and have them all face the same direction, that is definitely a potential consideration. Let's go ahead and pull the backs off. This is going to the back, and if I wanted to, I could have I could flatten this. This is the top of the chair. It may create some skewing, but I think we'll be all right. This is the bottom. Stitch selected. I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take the top and the back off and make them separate. Make things a little cleaner. Now that these things are lined up more effectively on the grid, we can. One of the options I was thinking about. This will create some interesting stretching as well, but it's on the bottom of the leg and it may not make as noticeable difference, but you're willing to give it a shot. Just square this all up. What are you doing, Hulk? Oh yeah, you're fighting. And this would make it all squared up and it'll taper with the actual geometry on the actual 3D shape. And I kind of like that. Tell you what, let's go ahead and stick with it. So let's go ahead and do that real quick with all of these. That way I can actually do this. I can set them up this way. I'm holding Control Alt. Keeps it scaling from the center and it keeps it proportional. Alright, so let's see. Did that group still? Let's undo that. That's what we're gonna do. Let's grab these guys. We can do this real quick. I go here, it's like this one. I can select by group and then I can just ungroup it. And I want to go ahead and maximize my textile strength. It is just a dinner chair, but if I do want to do some cool detail, this will allow it. Just a little bit. So UV layouts, playing Tetris. Alright, so there's our UVs. Collapse. So let's go ahead and center these back up on the X and the Y. Let's see. Okay, so our next step is to basically get our meshes to match up a little more effectively. The high poly is definitely the better looking version, and since I added polygons just by cutting the object, there's some squareness in our green one. So I'm gonna grab our blue dude. Let's rename him real quick. So I'm gonna say D_chair, D for dining. And I'm just gonna say capital HI. Actually, I like lowercase HI. That means high poly. And I'm gonna click on this and I'm gonna say freeze selection. Okay. I can't select it. It makes it easier to select the piece that I need to work on, which is the chair. This will be 0, 0 because this will be our game object. I'm going to go into our view here, top view, and just pull these shapes together. Kind of work that curve a little bit more like what's in the actual high poly version. Next thing I need to do is actually I will need to align my legs on the high poly to fit inside the low poly, but right now I just want to make sure that the low poly is good. If I want to unfreeze things, you can just hit unfreeze all. We'll go to the high poly. You want the polygons to match as closely as possible. Turbo spin. Let's go ahead and collapse that. Right, first off, let's just make that an editable poly. I got some issues here, so I want to grab those vertices probably all the way up. And just slide those over so they fit. Select those. Get rid of that selection. There we go. If you've got multiple vertices in the way, like for multiple sub-objects, select one, hit Control, and then left click on the things that you want, and then you can deselect sometimes a lot easier. Just a little bit. Alright, so as long as our low poly object has UVs and our high poly object matches pretty close to our low poly object, we should be able to grab the details off of our high poly object and slap them into our low poly object as a normal map. And then go over to Export Selected. Dinner chair, this is my dinner chair low, so we'll go ahead and just say 00. Export out, and then we select our high poly. We'll go ahead and export selected and chair. So we got a high and a low. Let's go ahead and save this as a new scene. So good. And then I'll be right back and we'll look at substance.